There's a big difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, and I brought on an expert that's going to walk us through everything about the Roth IRA or the traditional IRA so that we can understand how we can use either one of these for our goals. What we love to do is figure out what our goals are and then use whatever tool that is. It could be a Roth IRA, traditional IRA to accomplish those goals. But I do have an entire video where Brandon's actually going to be sharing with us all of the different investment assets, from Bitcoin to farmland to real estate to precious metals and everything else, and even startups and businesses you can actually invest in. Check the link in the description for that full video or that comment card right up there so that you can actually see the entire video. But right now, let's jump into with Brandon Walsh. Hey, Brandon, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Dustin. Master Passive Income is always one of our best partners, so really excited to be on here. I will get investors that are extremely experienced, extremely smart investors that just still mix up some things between traditional and Roth. And, eventually you'll get the hang of this, but don't feel bad asking questions about this. These are two of the most basic but important things to know when you deal with a retirement account or especially any alternative asset. So this is a quick lesson I'm just going to rip through here. Why tax advantage? There's two types of main tax statuses that people deal with the most. It's called pre-tax, most similar to a traditional IRA. You put money in and then it's deferred until you retire. And then post-tax Roth, where you put money in, you don't really get any current tax break in the current year. However, after 5 years, you get a lot more tax benefits for that money. If you put money in there for 5 years and you don't take it out, pretty much everything can be tax-free. So I'm going to jump into some of the differences here, the pros and cons of each one, and why someone might use them. So with the traditional and the Roth, both of them have no capital gains tax. That's one of the biggest advantages of a self-directed IRA or just IRAs in general. Where there are, again, for both traditional and Roth, there are no taxes on the sale of an investment. So real estate property, a crypto, whatever gets sold, you don't pay any immediate capital gains or immediate taxes on that investment. So the first difference here, you decrease your taxable income. So if you made $100,000 and you contribute $6,000 to a traditional IRA, to the IRS, it looks like you made $94,000. So a lot of people don't know this, is that this basically reduces the taxable amount of dollars you have. Think of the IRS not caring about that money. They say, all right, you've deferred this money, you're not paying taxes on it. Your actual income level starts to go down. So the pre-tax, the traditional IRAs are really popular with people that are making a lot of money. Taxes are kind of killing them. They're struggling. They see the tax bill each year and they're starting to get worried that when April gets near, because they know, oh boy, taxes are coming. I need to do anything to get this down. So you contribute to a solo 401k, your W-2 401k. You can also contribute to a traditional IRA. Now, the biggest difference with the Roth, instead of getting a tax benefit at the beginning of the current year, you get to take out your money tax-free, as long as you keep that in for 5 years, or as long as you keep the gain from a real estate property in there for at least 5 years. So a lot of people don't know this, but they think they have to wait till 59 and a half. If you keep a real estate property, if you sell it in 2021 and you take it out in 2026 or 27, you can have that money tax-free. So always talk to a tax accountant. There are contributions and then there are investment gains. If you want to worry about this stuff, you can worry and you can nerd out about it all day long. But just basically think about it. Roth money is more accessible than a traditional IRA before 59 and a half. Roth money also comes out tax-free. So when people retire, they usually like to take out Roth money first. And since there's no current tax benefit, the downside is usually people will do Roth when they're lower on the income levels. So if they don't make a lot of money in a certain year, they'll say, hey, I want to funnel more money into Roth. There's some income limits that say, hey, if you make too much money, it's hard to do a Roth. You can't do a Roth IRA. However, there are no income limits on a Roth and a solo 401k. Let's say it again. There are no income limits using the Roth portion of a solo 401k. Solo 401k can usually do both of these. So solo 401k owners get to say, hey, which one do I want to do this year? And there are no income limits, which is just a really unseen part of the solo 401k and 401ks in general. It was added in the early 2000s and has been there. People just still don't know about it. I have here, you can do the mega backdoor Roth in the solo 401k. I'm not going to get into all the complications of it, but think about it. It's the most aggressive backdoor IRA you can do. And so I've talked a little bit, about the Roth. How do you finish off in the traditional? In the traditional IRA, you're taking money at retirement out at ordinary income rates. So think about your ordinary income rate right now. When you retire, usually your expenses are a little lower. Maybe you're an empty nester now. You're just traveling a little bit, but not too much. So you're not making a lot of money. Maybe you work a small job just on the side, but you're pretty much mostly retired. You're paying ordinary income rates, but if you only need $40,000 that year, that's all the income tax you need to pay. So with a traditional IRA, people will strategically take out a certain amount that they need to take out. The less you take out, the less your ordinary income is, because every time you take money out of a traditional IRA, that adds to your income level for that year. So just at the beginning, in 2021, it took away from our income level. It put us down from 100,000 to 94. If you take out $6,000 from your traditional IRA in your in your 60s, and you're making $100,000, if you take $6,000 out, it's going to look like to the IRS you made $106,000. So just know it raises your income level. And people think, why would I do this? This doesn't make sense. I don't see any need for the traditional IRA. It's still very used to older retirement investors, because usually their income levels are much, much lower. And the last great advantage, the pro of the traditional or pre-tax IRA, is that you can usually roll this anywhere you want from old 401ks. Most people have traditional dollars in old 401ks and IRAs. So when Dustin talks to his students, most of these people, when I help a mass passive income student get started, they usually have a lot more in traditional or pre-tax IRAs and old 401ks than they do in Roth. Sometimes people are kicking themselves and they say, hey, when I was a younger investor, I wish I would have thrown more into Roth. Some quick cons of each account. I've gone over kind of all the pros of a traditional versus a Roth, and kind of why might someone want to use them. Why might you kind of avoid them and go for the other one instead? The traditional IRA, no penalty-free access until you're 59 and a half. You take money out, you hear about a friend, they rip out money, really hits them. They have to pay a tax penalty. That can be pretty brutal. And honestly, if someone takes money out like that, I've heard of people taking money out to buy real estate property that they think is powerful because they did not know about a self-directed IRA. And that is really sad and brutal to see, because when they find out about a self-directed IRA, they just feel the regret wash over them, because they pay a big IRS penalty if you take that money out. So anything you put in a traditional IRA, know that it's in there for the absolute long haul. And the IRS, when you get older, they want their money. So you can't take it out until you're 59 and a half. But once you get into your 70s, they start saying, hey, you're going to have to start kicking this money out. We're going to need to get taxes on it. You can't keep it in there forever. So the traditional the pre-tax or traditional IRA is a way to really squirrel money for exactly kind of your main retirement years. Kind of get it right there. If you build a giant account, that's going to really serve you in your exact retirement years. The Roth IRA has a bit more limitations. It doesn't really help you on your current taxes. However, people really value it because it has a little bit more freedom to take the money out. And, it is that tax-free investing. And just this last con here, less principal to invest. I put that on there because some people say, hey, I want to invest in a property through Roth, but I need $150,000 to buy this property. A lot of people just don't have that in a Roth account. They have to convert money and pay a lot of taxes, or they have to squirrel together and contribute over many, many, many years, 10 years in a row to get up to that level. So a lot of people just have more traditional than Roth. So if you're using Roth, just remember, you probably have a bit less. Maybe you have to scrap a bit more. Maybe you have to go for that cheaper property, that cheaper asset. And don't ignore it though. It's a very strong account. So, talk to your tax accountant here. People often ask which one's the best for me. Very simply, if your taxes are brutal, the pre-tax is usually going to help you. If your taxes are not too bad, you should consider the Roth. But a tax accountant is what's really going to help you. People ask me these questions every day, and I say, look, I don't know all your income. I don't know where all your different taxable questions are coming from. I deal with so many customers that have totally different needs every day. So talk to your CPA, because if they really take a good look at that, they're going to help you plan for that. Dustin, the traditional and the Roth, I'm sure you see it every day, but it's best to talk to a CPA for this type of thing.
100%, yeah. And it also depends on your goals. Like, what are you looking to do at the end when you're ready to retire? What are you going to do with that money? So it really, everything comes into play. And getting more information, I believe, is better. Talk to Rocket Dollar, talk to your accountant, talk to people that know what they're talking about, so you can make the best decision. That's something I'd love to do with all my students, is give them so many options so that they can figure out what their risk tolerance is, what their financial ability is, what their goals are. They can put all that together and make the best decision. So between a Roth and a regular IRA, they're both good. It just depends. They're just different tools for what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, and this question I went over today is probably one of the most talked about financial topics on all the internet and all online. So if you have any extra questions, then you can ask me, but online research will really help you here. There's so many resources that help you. We just try and put this perspective on, think of the alternative asset you're dealing with the pre-tax mindset and the post-tax Roth mindset. Sometimes different assets work better in a certain way. Stuff with more explosive gains works better in sometimes in a Roth, or sometimes more yield type stuff helps people retirement plan better to put in the traditional. So just try and think, hey, how does this asset perform? What assets do I have in traditional and Roth? If I could do it with both, maybe this asset's a little better in Roth, and maybe this asset's a little better in traditional. And that's, again, talking to the CPA. They can help you kind of figure that out. Where to place each investment. Because even if your CPA doesn't know too much about the alternatives you're dealing with, if they just know a little bit about how it performs, they can probably point you in the right direction and make sure you're putting that money in the right spot. I just want to say a little bit about Rocket Dollar. We have a discount code here for Master Passive Income customers. Rocket Dollar, we try to offer this checkbook IRA at a much cheaper price. Sometimes it's up to a third cheaper than some of the competition out there. We try and do it the same way every time. Just that IRA, that Colorado LLC in the bank account. I can talk about how you can, if you ever have a question about how that Colorado LLC works in a certain state, feel free to call me and how that would be structured. So for $360 and $15 a month, you get an IRA, an LLC, and a bank account relationship with a bank that are a partner that understands real estate and all these different alternative assets. So on the right here, you'll see kind of some of our competitors' fees. Which can get pretty long and crazy sometimes. Rocket Dollar was started because we feel a lot of these fee sheets were too ridiculous, and they're restricting people from being able to invest in alternative assets in their IRAs. So with the Master Passive Income code, you can click Dustin's. Make sure to click his link so he gets credit there on Master Passive Income site. But for you to get $50 off, you can enter Master Passive Income in the referral code box right before you get to our final purchase at Rocket Dollar. That'll get you $50 off in your account. And hopefully, I'd love if you had a conversation with me and Dustin, all the great education that he has. Dustin, thanks so much for bringing me on here today. It's been really great to talk about real estate, self-directed IRAs, and all these different types of other assets.
Yeah, Brandon, I definitely learned a lot, and I know everybody else is. And so for everybody, definitely click on the link in the description, masterpassiveincome.com/Rocket Dollar. But make sure you use that promo code, Master Passive Income. It's all one word, so that you can get that discount. But yeah, Brandon, it's been great. Thank you so much for giving us so much great information. Hopefully, a lot of people will be able to save money on their taxes, mitigate all those taxes, because Uncle Sam's going to take their portion, and we tried our best to not let that happen within the laws, and Rocket Dollar does a great job. So thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you, Dustin. And have a great day, everyone. Appreciate it.